She took the midnight train going anywhere. Doom, doom, doom. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. I tried. I tried. Yo, I tried, Tom. What's going on? We are here. Welcome back to the Coach's Huddle. It's your boy, the Coach, here with my man with the plan, Tom Jensen, where the field meets family. And Tom, we are washed. We're washed. We're washed. We are washed. It is what it is. The San Francisco 49ers are 5-6, dead last in the NFC West, coming up on a snowy matchup against the Buffalo Bills Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5 p.m. for you Westerners out there. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Coach. How about you?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. I mean, look, right now, you got to be a fan to be tuning into this because it's a shit show. Let's just be honest. The 49ers have been struggling. I mean, the injuries are piling up, right? Trent Williams. Now you can add Aaron Banks to that list. We're sitting back looking at possibly moving forward where we might not have Mooney Ward, not Mooney Ward, but Diamador Lenore is going to be out coming up. So right now we got some new guys that are added to the injury list. We're coming up facing the Bills. And right now, if you look at where the Bills stand, they're 9-2, first in their division, second in their conference, fighting for a number one seed. They're getting healthier. They're getting a lot of guys back. They got their rookies that are standing up and doing things with Keon Coleman, which we all know.
Right.
And they have a running game that's, basically by committee when you add in what Josh Allen brings to the running game. I mean, this is just a daunted team. There's no way to put it. What do you think just on the outset, where we stand with facing the Bills come Sunday night? How do you feel?
I don't think the Niners can win, to be honest. My concern is the Niner defense getting off the field.
Right.
That even if you put them into third and long, what's Josh Allen going to do to you? He's going to run. And the Niners are the worst in the league at defending a quarterback scramble out of a drop back.
Right.
And so there's third down, and Buffalo keeps moving. That's my worry, is that how do you get Buffalo to punt in this game, given the Niner difficulty in stopping the run and given how good Josh Allen is running the ball? 50 yards in his last two games, both of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, we could look at this as a rock bottom moment to try to find silver linings. If you look at what the Bills give you on offense, I mean, it's just these boys just get it done on the ground. They're ranked 6th in the league on the ground. Offensively, we're a little bit more efficient than them in the passing game, edging them out over about 66% with completion efficiency through the air. But really what it is that they're just all hands on deck. You really can't point out one guy that's necessarily killing them with numbers. I mean, obviously you can look at their red zone efficiency from their running back Cook has 9 red zone touchdowns this season, so they definitely use him in the air. They throw to Cook a lot. Defensively, this is a bend but don't break defense, but they get after you. They're stout on the defensive line. They have an okay pass rush, but really they bring a lot with their linebackers. So coming into this game, I listened to, did some scouting and listening around on the Bills side of things, and they seem about as calm as you can be, right? They as a matter of fact, their things are so well for the Bills right now that a lot of their a lot of their commentators and content creators are almost kind of like waiting for the proverbial shoe to drop. They haven't been this efficient before. They've never seen this much health this deep into the season. I mean, right now they're in rarefied air in a lot of different aspects. What do you think the Niners should be looking to do just with what we have going into Buffalo Sunday? You know, we all were going to talk about. We have a couple of topics that are going to be laid in around the run game, obviously, but. What's the overall top to bottom attack? Give me 10,000-foot view. What should we be doing? Big picture.
What we need to be doing is attacking where Buffalo is weakest. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're the league's worst defense in passing yards to running backs. That's something the Niners do exceptionally well. And so Kyle's going to say, okay, I need to hit Christian McCaffrey a lot in this game. Buffalo has the most receptions, most yards, most touchdowns against by running backs in the passing game. So that's the Niners' path. But can you do that in the snow, 31 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour wind, low wind chill factor, and Brock Purdy struggling in the rain? What's he going to do in the snow? So that's all going to be an issue. But Buffalo's defense is vulnerable where the Niners are very good, and that's a way that they can attack. Another factor is Buffalo is top 5 in highest yards per carry by running backs, 4.9. And so you can go after them with the running backs that way as well. Where their defense is good is they stop the wide receivers. They stop tight ends. And they're stout, like you said. But they're not necessarily great at stopping running backs. And that's where the Niners are going to need to try to make that the key part of their game plan to try to somehow get a win here.
Definitely. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Right now, the Niners are just going to have to definitely hone in on what they do best from an offensive standpoint, in my opinion. You look at what they bring right now. They got some really good guys coming off of injury. Nicholas Morrow is probably one of the biggest names that I feel like they're all excited to get back. One of their big-time linebackers. Another name that we're going to be looking forward to watching out for is Greg Rousseau. He's somebody that's definitely going to be on the way to be a big contributor for them down the line. Do you think that he'll be back for us, Greg Rousseau?
He's game time, I think. So we'll see. But he's a big piece for them. They've got some linebackers returning.
Mm-hmm.
The part of why they're so weak at defending against running backs is because they haven't had their linebackers healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They might get 1-2 starters back in this game. If so, they might be able to have a lot more success defending against running backs. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Russo's a big piece for them, no doubt.
Definitely. Now, we look at what they bring on offense. I mean, and really, you can kind of pick them apart. They're definitely not the offenses that we've seen in the past where you're going to get, top 5 positions across the board. Definitely not. But one thing I will say is that they got one of the most underrated centers in the NFL in Connor McGovern. I'm going to tell you this right now. He's got an offensive grade of about 70 in the mid 70s on PFF, but his run blocking is something that I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very scared of. This guy is a tip of the spear blocker. He's always screws below screws as far as pad level is concerned. He's got strong hands, good leverage, and he's a leader. I mean, any type of combo block or tandem blocks that you get him into, I mean, he's always the force defender, whether he's helping or whether he's leading. Definitely can take on shades by himself. I mean, he's just one of the rarest guys. And I love when they put like titanium on at the tip of the spear. It's like most centers are going to be your smaller guys, 6'1", 6 foot, 290, 330, if that's your biggest. But there's nothing like a 6'5", 325-pound center. And that's what Connor McGovern is. It's somebody that I think that we're definitely going to have to be looking out for coming up. Some guys on their offense that I also believe that are going to be really helpful for them is their tight end, Dalton Kincaid. Somebody else said.
He's out.
Okay, so Dalton Kincaid is officially out.
Yeah, that was stated today.
Oh, awesome. awesome. I mean, well, sorry, but not. I don't want him to be
Yeah, we
hurt,
don't want
but
to root for
we don't.
injuries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for an injury. And then again, don't look now, but the Niners have seen some really sneaky slots. I feel like slot receivers have been really killing us this year. Jackson Smith and Jigba got us twice. Then we got to go with our guy who was Jaden Reed out of the Packers, killed us, right? Now, don't look now, but we got another guy, Khalil Shakir. He's another guy at slot that I believe is going to be a big problem for us moving forward. We got to see exactly what we're going to do with him. Maybe that can be because Demo's out. So we got Mooney. Ronaldo Green is probably going to. You think Ronaldo Green will probably get that matchup? And then put
I would
Isaac
think
Yadam on the
so.
outside.
Yeah, because you can't put Yadam inside, so Green is kind of your only choice in the slot.
Right.
And we'll see how he does, but Shakir's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
He's someone I wanted the Niners to draft out of Boise State. I loved his game.
Yeah.
And now he's coming into his own. He hasn't had much impact until this year, and now he's blossomed. He's playing really well.
Definitely.
So, yeah, Ronaldo Green is probably going to have to take the slot by default.
Right. Now, one thing I will say is that when I was going to bring up one of the formations that I feel like the Bills pretty much they're pretty much the leaders at efficiency in this formation. That's double tight. One thing I will say is that Dawson Knox is a guy to look out for. All right. He's their second tight end, and he's not necessarily a guy that gets a lot of bumps. So as far as like his numbers are concerned, he's really not going to hit the radar. But as far as being a guy that can come in and be a nasty blocker, damn near a fullback in a lot of different instances, but he's a big body at 6'5", 260. This is a big kid, somebody that I think is going to also be able to come in and step in for them. Now, me mentioning him in a leading role, I'd be interested to see how he plays against us, because my implication was that he was going to only be a backup tight end coming into this game, but we were just going to see a lot of them just due to usage and formation. As far as defense is concerned, I feel like you did a really good job, but I will talk about a couple of weaknesses that I see. Now, as far as for me, they got their good linebackers and they have Rousseau, and those guys are, reputations precede them. I get it. But Christian Benford, that corner that they got, he's a dog. That's somebody who I believe is going to be a really big matchup between him and Jawan, possibly him and Ricky Pearsall. They move him around a lot, so don't be surprised if you see him in the slot during certain times. Maybe seeing him against Debo. But outside of that time, not really impressed with their secondary, man. Taylor Rapp at safety, he's just a guy. He's just a guy to me.
Most of their defense is just a guy.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't that great, but their defense can stop receivers. That's what the stats show. It's just, in terms of sacks and blitz percentage and that sort of thing, they're middle of the pack to lower half. They aren't great. Buffalo wins on offense. Let's be clear. And that's the problem with this game, is that in a snow game, it's the dominant offense that usually can dictate.
Definitely. So let's get into our second topic. We've already looked at it. We've already seen it. So Brock Purdy is, hey, he's coming back, baby. He's here. So the San Francisco 49ers are starting Brock moving forward. And one thing that I wanted to bring up with the conversation about Brock is definitely, is it time for him to come back, right? So Brock Purdy is back from injury, but is it wise to start him in bad weather with a potentially depleted offensive line? The 49ers face a tough decision as they head into Sunday night showdown. Will caution or desperation prevail? We've already known this question. You've kind of chuckled at this reading the crawl before. Desperation has definitely prevailed. At this stage, the only reason why I ask this is one thing that stuck out and I don't think a lot of people wanted to bring this up, or just maybe it just, after getting your ass whooped, you just really don't bring it up. It doesn't come to mind immediately. But Brock Purdy is a starting caliber quarterback, and it looks different with another quarterback in there. There's a clear difference between Brock and the rest of the quarterbacks on this roster is that Brock is a starter, okay? And we look completely different without our starter on the field. But at the same time, potentially not having the left side of your offensive line in Aaron Banks and Trent Williams, bringing Brock back off of injuries to his throwing arm. And then on top of it, I've seen every snap that Brock has thrown professionally, as have you, as has everybody in this chat. We know that boy don't throw well in the winter, in the weather. We know this. We know Brock struggles in inclement weather, whether it be rain, wind, sleet, snow, just call him the postman, whatever. He struggles in it. So is it a smart move to bring him back now? Could this be a game for a Dobbs? Right? One thing that threw me off about the start for Brandon Allen last week, the only thing that gave me a bad taste in my mouth is that Brandon Allen hadn't played a game in 3 years. And we were going to put him on the road against the Packers in the rain. And it seemed far-fetched from the very beginning, right? And even though if you can go pound for pound over who operates your offense in a simulated environment, i.e. practice, well, yeah, Brandon Allen's going to look better. But who's going to be able to give you practicality in the moment when the bullets get flying? I think Dobbs is a far better choice at backup than Brandon Allen. What do you say about this, Tom?
I agree with all of that. And Dobbs proved it last year. Part of the issue needs to be frequency as far as, when did you last play? Dobbs played a lot last year, even in a backup role because of injuries in the teams he was on. And delivered. He got wins. And Allen, it's more about Kyle being Kyle he knows the system better. Just what's more important? What's more important is your actual play on the field. And I think that Dobbs would have given them a better chance last week, but water under the bridge now. And Tommy Huxley, indeed, there is a God. That needed to happen a long time ago.
Tommy thinks that I took his comment and accidentally put it up here, and I didn't know it was up there. Nah, yeah. we put this on here. They released Cam Irving already? No.
Wow. That surprises me. Okay, well, so
all right. Anyway, moving on.
But anyway, getting back to what you were saying, I think Purdy is playing for a couple of reasons. One, he's concerned about the leadership function of my team needs a win. I'm healthy enough to play. I'm going to play, even if it's not in necessarily my best business interest to do so. Mm-hmm. And I give Purdy credit for that. It's a leadership function of saying, I'm going to be here when my team needs me. But You look at this from the business point of view and say, you can't play in inclement weather. You're flying across the country. You're playing a team that's vastly superior to yours. What are you accomplishing here? Mm-hmm. But Brock says, just none of that matters. I'm healthy enough to play. I'm going to play. So I give him credit for that. But at the same time, I'm certainly not expecting any miracles from Brock to deliver in this kind of weather. 31 degrees and snowing with 10-mile-an-hour winds, gusting to higher. That's a tough situation to play in.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot for Brock to overcome just coming out from the outset. I'd be interested to see how Kyle is going to utilize the passing game with Brock being in, especially with the weather as bad as it predicts to be. One thing I will say that we're going to instantly see when Brock gets back on the field is we're going to get his athleticism back. I have never been more appreciative of Brock's legs after watching Brandon Allen play last week. My God. I mean, get it together. Man, Tom, I'm telling you, bro.
Well, Brandon Allen is a statue with a limp. He's
Yeah.
just waiting to get sacked. It's not good.
Yeah.
One thing before we move on from Purdy that I wanted to mention. This is an angle that no one's talked about in terms of what happens with the contract. Jed York.
Hmm.
What does Jed want out of this? You look at the Niners and say, who's the face of the franchise? Kittle, 31.
Right.
CMC fading. Debo fading. Kyle might not be here in another year. He needs some level of foundation to market the team. He needs a new face of the franchise. I think Jed's going to be very motivated to pay Brock and lock him down because that's who he's going to need to market the team. So I think that Jed's going to be part of this. I don't think he'll go public and say we will sign Brock, but he did say, we're going to make it a priority to sign him. He's already said that in the past, and I think that this is part of why is that he needs a new face of the franchise. Brock is young and can be the quarterback long term. Jed's going to be motivated to lock down Brock. But from a football perspective, if you're going to be moving on from Kyle Shanahan in a year, new GM, new head coach, they're going to want a new quarterback. So from the football perspective, you're not going to want to lock down Brock, but Jed is, and that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch behind the scenes.
Well, one thing I'll say right now is if you ever wonder what $60 million a year at quarterback needs to look like, fear not, because you're going to see it Sunday night. And it ain't going to be on our sideline. There ain't no way on God's green earth that Brock Purdy should get $60 million a year or anything close to it. Like, let's be pragmatic about this. In my opinion, I think that there's some comparable, since we broached the subject, I think that there's some comparable deals out there that I like Brock having. I don't think that it's all, it's not either or for me, right? So it's not either Brock gets the 60 or it's nothing at all, right? But there are some deals out there. The Geno Smith deal, 3 years, 75 million, 40 million
Yeah.
guaranteed, 25 per million average. I'm not mad at that. The Derek Carr deal in 2023, 4 years, 150, 60 million guaranteed, 37 and a half year per average. I'm not mad at that deal. Matt Stafford's deal in 2022, 4 years, 160, 63 million guaranteed, 40 million per. I'm not mad at 40 million per. So let's talk turkey
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You
So
know,
Baker Mayfield money,
yeah,
and that's what
Baker money. Thank
that
you.
that's what it should be. It should be in the vicinity of 40. And if
Yeah,
you do that, then okay, I'm on board with that. But it's as we talked about last week. The key to all of this that we don't know is who is Brock's agent? How aggressive is he going to be? Is he one of those agents that says, "I'm going to get max money. I'm going to leverage. I'm going to leverage the marketplace." And
hmm
he's going to pull the numbers that favor it and say, "Well, Brock has done better than ABC. They got paid 50 to 60. Brock should get 50 to 60." And
hmm
who is his agent? How aggressive is he going to be? Those are unknowns. We don't know. But if he's reasonable, then yeah, what we see on the field in terms of what Brock has done over the last 2 years and what we can expect to see from him going forward, something in the 40s would be reasonable.
right.
Something in the 50s would be high. Something in the 60s would be what are you doing? So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree. And I want him to get paid. What he's getting paid now is gross, right? He's done enough with what he's getting paid now, and he definitely deserves a generational changing payday.
Yeah.
He deserves it. But come on, man, let's not turn into North Korea. Come on, let's not Pyongyang this thing. Like, come on, be realistic. So, in my opinion, if he's our starter, there is a leash for me in this game because we're not. All right, look, we got to start looking at these games like boxing. If you're in there with a fighter where you are hurt or you can hurt yourself by not protecting the team. Okay, so in my opinion, Brock should have a short leash Sunday night. If he gets out of hand, pull him. Right.
Well, and if he gets hurt in any way where he has to come off to the sideline for whatever reason, even
Yeah.
if it's a knick-knack, I think that Kyle has to be sensitive to the risk of further injury, especially in the snow.
Definitely.
So if Brock gets hurt in any way where he has to come off the field, you need to react to that in a strong way. And preferably not by putting Brandon Allen on the field, though we know what Kyle will do.
100%. I mean, that's let's look big picture, Tom. This is another injury to the throwing arm. Okay, we're talking about paying this kid money that he's deserved, but also we got to be realistic about contracts. Contract negotiations are not about what you've done; they're about what you're going to do. Okay,
and that's from Bill Walsh. He said you never pay for past performance.
Yeah,
that's a maxim of Walsh.
Yeah, what you've done got you to the table. We start from there. Now, what you're going to do is how we chart out the money. So, what I don't want to do is hurt our guy down the line in the future when we get him to the negotiation tables. We're basically signing on damaged goods. So let's start treating him like he's the $40 million, $50 million, whatever $1 million man now. We got to protect him. And the last thing, I can hear it now from myself. I will be screaming at this camera. You know how these live watch parties get. If Brock Purdy gets hurt versus a half of our offensive line, then there is no way you can tell me that you believe in him as your starter. There's no way. Because if you got a guy that you're itching to pay, like they've all been saying, that deserves his money, like they've all been saying, there's no way you put him on the road in harm's way this way, coming off of another injury on his shoulder, on his throwing arm. So I'm just putting that out there right now. Brock, this isn't a if you're healthy to play, you play situation. No, this is a borderline RG3 moment. Like if he's hurt and he doesn't want to say he's hurt, but you're looking at him, pull him. Right? We're 5-6. Let's not try to get overzealous.
Right. Let's be clear-eyed about the situation. We've got a very remote chance of making the playoffs. And Brock is doing this as a leadership function to the team. Mm-hmm. But you have to protect him from himself in this case, especially if he gets hurt. Yeah. If there's any knick-knack, pull him.
Not mad at it.
Yeah. And Kyle needs to do that. Will he? No. Because Kyle wants to win no matter what.
Kyle wants to look good no matter what.
Yeah. But that, and then he says, well, it's football and people get hurt. You know, it's just your decisions contribute to that. He needs to be more aware of that.
I agree. Moving into our next topic. So I want to get into it right off. Speaking of players being helped from hurting themselves to being saved from themselves, with Christian McCaffrey back in action, how will the 49ers balance their backfield? All right. Will Mason finally get more snaps, basically? Will we finally see him take on a larger role in the snowy conditions after being underutilized in recent weeks? The offensive plan is under the spotlight, as it always is. But now things are just glaring. And, I feel like I feel like that last sentence that I put in the crawl is poignant because the offense is always under the spotlight. The only difference is that we're winning. That's the only difference. Even when we were winning, we still didn't do shit on third downs. Even when we were winning, the defense had to bail us out. Even when we were winning, the offense started slow. It had to take 3 or 4 drives to finally get it going. Even when we were winning, we played down to our opponents, right? So now that we're losing, I feel like some of these things are just a little bit more egregious. But Jordan Mason not playing is absolutely ridiculous this season. I mean, if you look at what Christian McCaffrey is giving you, 3 games up, 3 games down. He's got 43 rushing attempts for 149 yards rushing. All right. He's got a success rate on rushes of 39.5%, along of 13 yards, and he's averaging 3.5 yards a carry. He's averaging only 49.7 yards on the ground, but he's averaging 14.3 rushing attempts a game. All right. Married with 16 receptions, 16 targets. So, look, man, What are we going to do? I don't even know how to like phrase this into a topic because we all know what the problem is.
Well,
What
yeah,
can we do to plead to this guy to play Jordan Mason? It's going to be in the snow, Tom. It's going to be inclement weather. This is a perfect time to pull out your ATV with the snow tires. Like, what are you doing right now? I'm already getting upset because I'm anticipating
because
him
you
having
know.
2 carries. Because I know I'm already revving myself up because I know I'm getting ready for the 4-carry Jordan Mason Sunday night football performance. And then you know what? He's going to get 10 carries. I'm calling it now. Here we go. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. This is what's going to happen. Jordan Mason is going to get 4 carries in the game in regulation, like first through third quarter, and it's going to get sprinkled in there, maybe 6. And he's going to have about 4 yards a carry, 4 plus. So let's say he'll have like 28 yards, 22 yards. The game would be near done. And then he'll get like 8 to 12 carries in the fourth quarter when it's already done and over with. And Kyle will say, see, Jordan Mason, 18 carries, 72 yards. What
Right.
what else can we say?
Well, and it's so disingenuous. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I both were fuming last week at the carries that Mason got in garbage time, saying, "You're just covering your ass."
You're covering your ass. Exactly.
Don't give us that. When the game is in doubt, what happens? And here's part of the factor in this game specifically. Who's the best tackling team in the league? Buffalo.
Yeah.
Fewest missed tackles in the league. What is that going to mean for Christian McCaffrey? He's going to get hit and he's going to go down.
Immediately.
If the Niners want to get anything going in the running game, they have to turn to Mason because he's effective after contact. Christian isn't. And that's not to put anything on Christian. He's not 100%. He's not in football shape. He's trying his damnedest. He's doing everything he can, but he's damaged goods. And Kyle has to respond to that, and he's not. Out of roster politics, out of I I made a mistake in giving this guy the sun, the moon, and the stars in an extension. Whatever it is, whatever reason Kyle truly has, it's garbage. Mason gives you what you need, yards after contact. That's what you're going to need most in this game in the snow. If he doesn't play Mason in this game, he never will.
Yeah. You said that earlier, and I believe it. If he doesn't play him here, after the Green Bay game, after all of the questions, I mean, he's been asked more ways than you can shake a stick at. Why aren't you basically playing Jordan Mason? There's been the nice way. You've had people directly ask him. You've had people allude to it. You've had people nicely kind of virtue signal to it. Like, hey, you think you can kind of tell us why he's not? All of it. If he doesn't play him Sunday night, and I mean, like, not just have a plan for him, right? Like, if we don't see him in the red zone, right? If we don't see Jordan Mason, I'd love to see Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey on the field together, possibly, right?
Sure.
What
But
is the
I
matter?
don't even care about that. What I care about is Mason getting carries. I see one carry for Mason for 16 yards, and I see Christian McCaffrey needing 5 carries to get 16 yards. And think, what in the world is going on? How can you possibly defend this? You cannot. And so, what's your reasoning behind it? He's never going to tell us, but I'm worried he's going to fumble. He doesn't know the offense as well. McCaffrey creates his own gravity in the defense. He forces the defense to react in ways that Mason won't. Blah blah blah. But all of those are about things other than carrying the football. At what point are you going to value the actual result of the play you're calling? Mason gets 1 carry for 16 yards, and then you put him back in witness protection. Why? You cannot justify any of that. It angers me to no end. I don't get it.
I got a theory for this. No pun intended. Chaos. So there goes this is a quote from a comment from Chaos Theory. Jordan Mason cannot be trusted to hold on to the ball in the snow. So look, let me put it this way. All right, so just feel me on this, yeah. everybody, feel me on this. Very rarely do I like gatekeep and try to, act like I know more than the next man, especially with football. I don't know everything. But this is what I do know, okay? When you have running backs, right? Running backs love their carries, okay? Because they need to be able to feel the game. Certain running backs, they're instant offense. Like they can put their foot in the ground, find a crease, and they're just a weapon. Their physical attributes can take over, and they don't need a lot of carries for them to be able to show what they do. But most running backs need carries to feel the game out. They need to get hit. They need to understand how to press the hole. They need to understand what edge is soft, what edge is hard. Do I bounce on this edge? Like you need these carries so you can feel out the offense and the defense. But this is one thing that happens is that when you don't give running backs that time, when you don't responsibly pace them out, you get fumbles. And the reason why you get fumbles is because you get guys that are pressing because they know that they don't know when the next carry is coming. So every rep, they got to score. Every rep, I can't say to myself, all right, I'm going to press the hole here. There's 3 yards here. I'm going to get 3. We'll live to fight another down. No, they need to fight for extra yards. 3 yards is not enough. They need to push and gamble with their decisions, right? Because as a running back, your decisions is all you have, right? It's the same thing as pocket awareness for a quarterback. Understanding how to read and letting your vision take over are certain things where you feel the game intrinsically. But when you don't get carries and you don't know where your next carry is coming from, then you start making business decisions. You start pressing. You start going for extra yards and trying to do things outside of your game because you want to be able to prove to whoever is on the sideline to keep me in the game. And what happens is you fumble. You start losing the edicts and the principles that you're supposed to have when you're running with the 3 points of pressure, keeping the ball high and tight, close to your pec, keeping your elbow tucked, understanding that, hey, if I have to sacrifice my fundamentals to get these yards, then I'm going on the ground. But that thought process flies out of the window when you don't get carries. So when we talk about Jordan Mason fumbling, that's a real thing for young running backs. I've seen it time in and time out. Sometimes even I've seen running backs stop fumbling just because they sat on the sideline and we had to get them on the headset and say, bro, you're getting about 8 of them, bro. Take your time. Take your time. You out there. You got the series, man. Don't press. Take what you need and get back in the huddle. Don't fuck us. So my biggest thing with Jordan Mason is that I understand that we all take the reputation or the tempo or the temperament rather of our head coach. And because Kyle does not stand for running backs who fumble and they basically never see the field again, that doesn't mean that's the way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been many instances in football with guys who coughed up the ball, but because of their talent and because they was a mental issue or things that they needed to work on, they kept them on the field. My thing is that, and then also you can't get cute either. Nobody was talking about Jordan Mason's fumbling issues when he was leading the league in rushing. Nobody was saying that Kyle doesn't trust Jordan to be on the field because of his fumbling issues. All of a sudden, that shit pops up because it means that we have to sit Christian McCaffrey down. Like, you got to, understand, you can't move the goalposts. So that's what I feel about, Jordan Mason, in the fumbling stuff. I think that it's a little disingenuous when that happens. And I feel like the coaches do that shit, too, where it's like, oh, well, you don't quite, we don't know if we'll be able to trust you, Jordan. And it's like, well, if you give me the fucking ball, you could, let me cook. And it's like, if it cost us games, Coward Chip, though, then the biggest game that it cost us was the Super Bowl when Christian McCaffrey fumbled in it. So all I'm saying is play it straight.
Yeah.
Play it straight.
Who fumbled last week, by the way?
Come on.
Christian McCaffrey.
Thank you. Play it straight. That's all I'm saying. I understand that it does cost us games, but that's not, you can't wear the scarlet letter because it costs us games, because We've been gracious to Christian when Christian has put it on the carpet too, which was literally last week.
Correct. But beyond that, did McCaffrey not being able to run cost us games?
Yeah.
Getting Christian 3.2 yards a pop, did that cost us a game? You can argue that too.
Yeah.
So to me, you go back to the early season, you say, did Mason have trouble running the ball when he got into rhythm and was the bell cow for the offense? No. And as you point out, he's fumbling now. Why? Because he's trying to make more of what's really there. He's exposing the ball by going for more yardage because he's getting so few carries. And that doesn't make sense. But beyond that, in this game specifically, against the best tackling team in football in the snow, what is McCaffrey going to do? He's going to get hit and dropped. That's going to happen. So you have to play Mason. Will Kyle react to that? We'll find out.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I understand that, fumbling, and I agree with you, Kyle Chip, though. Like, fumbling, the turnovers in general kill us. I get it. Right? Those are giving up the ball and giving up extra drives to the opponent is huge. I understand that. But I think that's a small thing to bring up versus the larger issue. And the larger issue is that he needs to be playing. Right. But bringing up the fact that he's got fumbling issues has nothing to do with the fact that if we keep. All right. So look at it this way. Look, and I'm not saying that you are. But what I am saying is that looking at it from the Jordan Mason perspective is one way. Right. And that's what we've been doing the entire time. This entire topic is bringing it up through the guise of Jordan Mason. Right. Hey, when is Jordan Mason going to play? Okay. And that's not fair to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was a leading running back in the NFL before he came. And, I just went on this whole soliloquy about Jordan Mason being able to get carries so he can understand it. That's cool. But let's say we throw all of that away. Okay. None of that exists in the debate. How is this fair to Christian McCaffrey? How is it, forget Jordan. How is this fair to Christian? He comes back and he's got tendonitis in both Achilles, and we're watching him. He doesn't need to get back into the swing of things. He needs to be used a different way. He's obviously not doing well with how Kyle is using. And another thing that this is also showing that last year wasn't about Kyle knowing what to do with Christian, but basically Christian knowing what to do with Kyle. Like, I'm going to stay on the field. I'll get open. I'll be your third option. I'll be your check down guy. And I'm healthy enough to accrue all of your requests. But now that I've lost a little bit, I'm injured. I don't see any calibration from your side off of what you're seeing on the field. I don't think that Kyle's even putting Christian in good positions for what he can do. I think he's just asking him to run his regular menu of plays. And I don't think that that's smart.
No, well, it's Kyle's going back to 2023.
Yeah.
That's not who Christian is. Yeah. At this point, you have to deal with who you actually have and call the plays accordingly. And the GPS has shown that Christian has lost some speed. The miles per hour aren't what they were last year. And so just on that alone, Christian's main strength is setting up his blockers to then run off of that and accelerate and go, and the defense can't react. This year he can't do that because the miles per hour is slower. And you have to respond to that as Shanahan and say, this is who you have now. And by using him in this fashion, you're putting him at greater injury risk, and you're making him less effective because you're overusing him. So to your point, what's the best thing you can do for Christian McCaffrey? Balance out the carries more.
Definitely. All right, man. So getting into our next topic. And this, I can't believe we're talking about this, but let's do it.
Well, let's get through just to spell it out. I'm with you. The season's over, but
hey, we got to be responsible here.
Yeah.
Week 12 is make or break for the 49ers playoff hopes. In my opinion, this really is it. This is it, right? We lose this one, our 7th game, with having to see the Rams, the Cardinals, and we got to see The Lions, again, I mean, we have to see the Lions.
Yeah, no way.
No fandom in the world will let me lie to you guys. It's a wrap, okay?
It is,
Uh,
but for those who refuse to let go, here's
we
here's your here's your coping mechanism. Here are the scenarios.
All right. So week
So
12 is make or break with the 49ers playoff hopes. Can they turn things around and stay in the hunt, or is their season effectively over? Let's examine their chances and the key factors in their postseason pursuit. Tom, take it away.
So I'm not going to talk about what they need to do. We've already been talking about that throughout the show. But
Yes.
in terms of the scenarios, the Rams are out because the Rams would need to lose to the Niners and lose a division game. And at that point, they also play Buffalo. So at that point, the Rams are 8-9. They can't win the division. So the Rams are gone. That's not a scenario that the Niners would deal with. Then you've got Arizona. Arizona has a much easier schedule to close. And what basically comes down to is all the tiebreakers after you get past one loss record, division record, etc., is common opponents. Arizona plays Minnesota this weekend. They win that game, they win the common opponents tiebreaker. Arizona's free and clear. That's over. Seattle, you get to common opponents with them. They play Green Bay and Minnesota. If they win either one of those games, they're in a better position to win common opponents. So that's what the Niners are facing. If you want the Niners to actually have a shot at this, you need to root for Arizona and Seattle to lose every game they play in the NFC. That's the only chance the Niners have. In the wild card, the only team that they can take over is Washington. But they've already
Washington.
lost. They've lost to Green Bay and Minnesota head to head. They lose those tiebreakers. So in Washington's case, if they win two of their remaining four NFC games, they win on conference record. They
Yep.
play New Orleans, Atlanta, Philly, and in Dallas. They should win at least two, probably three. So the chances are high that Washington is going to win at least those two, and then the wild card is close to the Niners. So that's what's going on. If you want the Niners to have any shot, root for Arizona and Seattle to lose as many NFC games as possible, and root for Washington to lose all of their NFC games. That's the only chance the Niners have.
Yeah. It's really not a topic, bro.
Yeah.
It's really not a topic.
No, we did that.
Look,
You have
man.
the info you need if you want to use that.
Yeah. For your
I'm
reading,
with you. Good luck.
for your listening pleasure. I mean, if you needed to know, and for those of you, Christmas is coming up. Thanksgiving is coming. Thanksgiving is past. I know you guys are around family. So if you get beat up about our horrible team, at least you could say we're not dead yet. We've got stay of execution. For 48 hours? We're dead.
Basically.
We're dead men walking, man. It's over for us, Tom. Man. Listen, if we pull this one off, my God. Pulling this one off.
It is shocked.
Oh my, this would be shot, heard round the world. I'm here for it. Dude, if we pull this off, Tom, I might have a heart attack on stream. I'm going to tell you, bruh. But look, I want to see how they come out fighting. Brock's going to come out fighting. That much I know.
Yeah, he'll compete.
He'll compete, exactly. Brock will compete. For what it's worth, Jalen Moore did not have a bad game. He didn't have that bad of a game last week. I'll tell you this. Aaron Banks possibly not playing with a concussion. All right, so let me say this. As you guys know, I do From the Trenches every week. I didn't do From the Trenches this week, and I'm going to tell you why. There was already enough negativity going around about the offensive line. There was no way that I could have did that film without crossing the line as a content creator. So I chose not to do the film. It was bad. And out of respect for, y'all know I coach hard. I critique hard, rather, because I don't coach anymore. I would critique hard. So I felt like the film wouldn't have been a good look for the platform. It wouldn't have been a good look for the players. If I was a player, I wouldn't have wanted anybody. I wouldn't have wanted that on wax. And as I was pointing things out, things that I was getting together to do the film, I started seeing a lot of those things being matriculated throughout the community anyway. So I felt the need where, like, look, are you going to put this out for content just to get some views or just to get some eyes on it? Or are you just going to go ahead and just move on from this one? So I chose to move on. So, in my opinion, Aaron Banks finding out that he's in for concussion protocol even makes me feel even better that I did not choose to have that film, because there were things that I saw on film that were emblematic of a concussion now that I know that he had a concussion. So, I'm glad that I didn't do that film review. But with him out at the level that he was playing, because now we know he was injured and we don't know necessarily when that happened. I do believe that Spencer Burford is going to be an upgrade for what we saw out of just performance out of Aaron Banks last week. That was Aaron Banks' worst game of his career. That was a bad game.
It was bad. But part of that is not having Trent, and so he's not playing the way he normally would.
Right.
And I think that factored into it. But beyond that, he hasn't had a good year. He's in a contract year and he's not playing well. So I feel for him in terms of having a concussion. But yeah, you made the right call in not pouring gasoline on a fire in breaking down the film further on that. It is what it is. We know what it is. With the narrative is already out there. So
Right.
let's just see what they can do. But yeah, I think that Spencer Burford can play well, and we'll see what he can do in this situation. It's a good opportunity for him.
And if you're Spencer Burford, you got to be ticked off that you lost your job to injury. If I'm Spencer Burford, that's the story that I'm sticking to, right? Dominic Puni is doing phenomenal. He's doing, and hold on, let me be specific. Dominic Puni is doing a better job than Spencer Burford was doing at right guard. Yes. So let's just put that out there. So it wasn't the fact that Dominic Puni was just good. It was, nah, man, you're specifically good at things that we have been struggling with at this position out of this certain player. But Spencer Burford came back in shape. He looked bigger. He looked like he spent a lot of time in the weight room. And I don't know what happened to his hand or the injuries that happened with him, but he lost his job by injury. And if I'm Spencer Burford, I got to be chomping at the bit that I finally get a start this week. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to see how he responds. What are you going to give us after essentially kind of being blindsided by this rookie that came in and, and to Kyle's credit, to the team's credit, they weren't really pressed about putting Dominic Puni out there. We saw it right away, but they were really tampering it down. Like, we'll see. He's got to show some more consistency. Not necessarily a lock there yet. Waiting on Spencer to get healthy. But as time has gone on, that position is all but closed. That door is closed. That is 100% Dominic Puni's position. So I really want to see how Spencer Burford is going to respond in this one. I'm telling you, we might see a little bit of an upgrade at left guard, just for what Aaron Banks has been giving us. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and I want to see what Burford can do with a lot of time playing on the left side of the line like he did at UTSA.
That's a great
that
call.
something that's going to give him more of a natural feel to play left and see what he can do there? He
Mm-hmm.
will be playing alongside Jalen Moore, it looks like, because Trent was on that scooter in the locker room where you don't put pressure on your foot. So it doesn't look like Trent's going to play. And they're 0-4 when Trent doesn't play over the last 2 years. So that's another reason to expect defeat here. But I think that Spencer can make the most of the opportunity he's given, and I'm looking to see what he can prove.
Definitely. So let's move into our last topic. We've made it past. Tom, I love you, man. 49ers 2025 vision. What's the blueprint? So look, this is something that you have done a very good job at laying out some of the preliminary plans that we're going to have to do and excel at actually in the upcoming off season. That's not here to say that this season is over, but it pretty much is. So look, look, as the season nears to an end, the 49ers' future becomes a hot topic. What are their offseason priorities and how can they rebuild for 2025? From roster moves to coaching changes, we break down what's next for the franchise. Take it away, Tom.
Okay. Let's start with Kyle. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people that want to see Kyle fired. But the people that make that decision, Kyle has made them a lot of money with all these home playoff games. They're not going to let the golden goose go. They're going to keep Kyle at least for one more year. However, if this season ends with no playoff appearance and next season ends with no playoff appearance, then they'll have just cause to let go of Kyle. So he is on the hot seat entering next year if they don't make the playoffs. And we both think that's likely, is that they're not going to make it. John Lynch probably stays because I think that if they hired a new GM, that would signal we're also looking to hire a new coach. They don't want to panic the fan base that they're going to get rid of Shanahan. So I think Lynch will stay, even though my hobby horse is the biggest detriment to this team is Kyle Shanahan as GM. That's the one thing that has to be replaced. It won't be this year. Coaching staff who will be replaced: Nick Sorensen, Brandon Staley, Brian Schneider. They all need to go. And I don't think anybody can argue any of that. It's who comes in as the defensive coordinator to replace. You've got Robert Saleh, but I'm not sure that he wants to return. It's one of those you can't go home again deals.
Hmm.
I would look at what's happening in Cleveland. That if they let go of Stefanski, then that could make Jim Schwartz a free agent. He runs the wide nine in Cleveland. He would be a great fit and a smart hire. He'd be somebody to look at. Another one that's been mentioned is Dennis Allen in New Orleans, who Kyle is friends with. And good luck with that. That would be basically Brandon Staley, the sequel, it would be hiring Dennis Allen. I hope that the DC would be Schwartz, but we'll see. It depends on what happens with Cleveland. What are your thoughts, Coach?
I love it. One of the biggest things that I like is trying to get some good names in at the special teams. I think it's time for us to really go shock and awe at the special teams position, right? I think that Coach John Fassel out of Dallas, I think he may be up for grabs next year. Definitely try maybe get Danny Smith, another guy. I mean, I want them to go out there and try to get the who's who of special teams. It's an element of the team where I think that Kyle, and as a head coach, any CEO or leader of a team, half of your game or half of your job is delegation, delineating, right? Like, what do you need to do? I just don't think that he takes it seriously. It's not an element of the game that they necessarily try to kill. And I think that Kyle looks at it from get a kicker, get a punter, get somebody that can control long kicks, kick long field goals if we need them, get somebody that can kick long punts to flip the field for us, right? And they need to be accurate. So outside of that,
his interest ends there is the problem.
That's the problem. Outside of that, we pretty much turn guys on the field into special teams dudes. But in years past, you think we were looking at guys like DFF, right? Demetrius Flanagan Fowles has kind of moved on. He used to be kind of a special teams maven for us. And in years past, you start to see a lot of the secondary guys that we lost. Losing Huff on special teams is another big guy. He was a big contributor on special teams. One thing about the Niners is that we just lack football players. That was one thing that I feel as though that we really need to get back to next year. Football players. You look at the Lions and you see Amon-Ra St. Brown catch dig routes or overs, and you look at the rest of the team and they're all blocking their ass off. That used to be us. Where it was literally 11 men on the field playing. But now you see so many business decisions coming out of the line. I think that they need to just go ahead and just get guys that specialize in playing football. They need to get more guys in the room. I think that a lot of that is them been they've got an expensive appetite. We've had golden handcuffs in a sense, kind of trying to live off of our own lifestyle of being the window team, right? And when you window shop, you got to kind of stay with the Joneses. And I think one of the misnomers for that was Javon Hargraves. I don't want to see any more deals like that. Just us frivolously spending because we want to just patch somebody. The great teams, the good teams, they go and they pluck a guy out from free agency when they need to get him, but they don't move heaven and earth to get a guy. They pick up a guy when he fits in and he's grateful for the position. Where they get a Juju Smith-Schuster when he knows, hey, this is it. Or Cordarrelle what's Kadarius Toney? Sorry, Kadarius Toney coming in where he knows, hey, this is it, for me. But outside of that, they develop, right? They got George Karlaftis and they stuck his ass right on the line of scrimmage. First day out, he's playing. They got Isaiah Pacheco, put his ass right on the field. He's playing. They play their young guys. Xavier Worthy, and we know that Xavier Worthy is not a finished product. He can't run the whole route tree. His routes are really not that polished, right? But they find a role for him. They keep him on the field. That's something that I also would love to see from the Niners of us. Hey, let's start leaning on our coaching. Let's start leaning on our development. There was never, what was the rollout for Fred Warner? There wasn't one because we didn't have a linebacker better than Fred. He had to play. What was the rollout for Aziz or Dre Greenlaw? There wasn't one, right?
No, it was just throw him out of the nest.
They had to go. What was the rollout? Who did George Kittle have to wait behind before he earned his way? Nobody. No one. My main point is that they built this standard off of playing young guys. Now, because they trust the guys that they have out there and these guys have gotten the big money, they've created this whole barrier to entry now where you have to be a rookie and you have to know exactly what to do. And if you're not liable on the field, you can't be a liability or you won't play. All of that's cool. But with this record, it's time to revert back to the old days. Even vets are getting checked, right? Yeah. Even vets are getting, hey, look, we got a young guy coming in here, man. You need to show up in shape. No more, I think it's time out for that. I think that's something that there needs to be a reset in culture and expectations this offseason.
Well, and that's the key, culture. There was a culture shift. There used to be everybody competes. This is one of the deepest teams in football. And we're going to have a bunch of dogs. You're going to have to earn your role. And everybody did. And then there was a culture shift where Kyle doubled down on the veterans, and you got out of balance of guys that had their bags and kids that were playing for their first bag.
Right.
And when you lose hunger in that translation, when you go older, you go more expensive, you lose hunger as a result. We're seeing that this year. That's happening. The other factor is, you're talking about the culture of, we see all these young guys, we need football players. We're seeing the impact of the Trey Lance deal of giving away all those picks, the Christian McCaffrey deal of dealing away all those picks, plus terrible drafts, in 2022 and 2023. Yes, we had a great draft in 24, no doubt. But the two drafts preceding left the cupboard so empty that the rookies that came in 24 had to go into starting roles right away. In the Niners of the past, those guys would have been first man up if somebody went down. They would have been waiting on the sideline rather than forced to go out there and start because the cupboard became so barren that they had to. And so that's the issue. They're going to have to restock. They're going to have to accumulate draft picks, draft well, and get those players back. The way that they return to their old culture is to have the players and the depth necessary to play that way, and to have that roster standard of you will earn your role or you won't see the field. They need to get back to that. The only way you can is through drafting and being smarter in free agency. Part of what I talked about in my article is, okay, so what do you do? Free agency, you go after DJ Jones. You get your run stuffer back. He's a free agent now.
Go get him.
That's somebody you need to go get. Another player is Demarcus Lawrence of Dallas, who's a great edge setter against the run. That's another role that they definitely need. And then you get to the draft. The draft is loaded in the first round with defensive linemen. That needs to be your pick. My fear is that Kyle will look at it and say, oh boy, Colston Loveland, he's supposed to go here. Tight end from Michigan, he's supposed to go from 14 to 20. And Kyle always takes weapons first. Is he going to do that again? And if he does, okay, you get two tight ends, you get somebody that can take over for Kittle, but you still don't have the dominant defensive line you need for the wide nine to succeed. The way you
Mhm.
coach this team to win loses because you failed in the first round. Kyle has done that a lot. He
Mhm.
has to change that. And that's part of the reason that I don't like Shanahan as GM is decisions like that. And you've got a trade up for Garendo, you don't play him. You draft two wide receivers in this draft, you don't play them. Why? They're talented. Ayuk is injured. Debo is flailing. Why aren't you playing these guys? And so it's just it doesn't follow. If you're going to draft that way, then you have to follow through in who you play, and he's not. And so he's running the team as if it was still loaded, as if it still had depth. That you would have this first year of, well, we're not going to play this guy because he's a rookie. No, you can't apply those standards when you don't have the depth. They don't have it right now. Part of the problem that they're having this year is Kyle is coaching and thinking and making decisions as if it was still 2023. He's doing that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, Sunday night is going to be another chapter. We'll be able to see it all play out. I'm definitely excited to see how the team comes in. Just responded to a loss. I'm keeping track on just nobody likes to lose. All right. So we understand that. And everybody's got pride. But I want to see a little bit more class. I want to see us lose these games if we do, and understand that we got our work ahead of us. Right now, my only thing is, if we do play, can we just use everything? What are we waiting for? What are we holding back? There's no reason not to have Jordan Mason and Isaac Garendo on the field. There's no reason not to be. I want to see Kyle. Obviously it's snowing, so the weather is going to be able to. You got to protect your team. You can't be out there doing everything, but uh, the players weren't the only people that had a bad game yesterday. There was a bad coaching job as well. So I'm looking to see how the coaching staff bounces back after this one. Tom, it's been another good one. What do you got cooking up
Absolutely,
for the
Coach.
rest of the week, man?
I've got a lot of articles coming up previewing the Buffalo game and then the post game, and then we'll get into it. Ashley was here earlier, and so Ashley and I will be back next week on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll be back together with you, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when we can,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see where this team is headed. But this game is going to tell us a lot about the character of this team.
Hey, man, you bet it, dog. Hey, tomorrow at noon, I believe, 12:30 my time, Eastern. That'll be probably 9:30, 9 a.m. Pacific. Me and Grant will be doing the coaches meeting, dual streaming, so you can catch it on my channel or his channel at noon tomorrow. And then also 3:30, the call-in show. So we're gonna do another call-in show, a Bills call-in show. I love my call-in shows,
Me
guys. They
too.
go.
Those are great.
Yeah, they go for a couple of hours. We have a really good time. We cut up. We really let our hair down and have a good time. So check out the call-in shows where you guys get a chance. And then also Sunday night, I will be here for the live watch show party. Take a look in the live description inside of the channel, guys. I've already made the thumbnail for it so you guys can see how to get promoted. Hey man, this is the coach, my man Tom Jensen. As you know the deal, stay low
Hello.
and keep your feet moving. Hey, talk to you guys. Peace.